Thank you so much for joining my session today. Here to talk to you all about the polar regions with Quark expeditions. Thank you also to the ECN, Akvile and Martin, and of course to the whole team at TTG for facilitating such an informative and amazing virtual conference that I'm very proud to be a part of. By way of introduction, my name is Sarah Schlatterer, rhymes with Roger Federer. It's a very complicated name, but hopefully that helps you remember. I'm the business development manager for the UK and Ireland here at Quark Expeditions. I have been selling polar expedition cruises for 10 years now. I know I don't look that old, not a wrinkle in sight. But all that to say, I'm incredibly passionate about the polar regions and especially working for Quark Expeditions, the leader in polar exploration. A little bit of fun facts about me on my polar CV. That little photo there on the bottom right is me and my now husband. He proposed to me last year in Svalbard on our brand new ship, the Ultramarine, up on the heli deck, surrounded by glaciers and icebergs. And I'm so passionate about the polar regions that I did get a tattoo of an iceberg so I can look at my wrist every day and be reminded of my amazing adventure in Antarctica. Now, hopefully, by way of introduction, that shows you how passionate I am about the polar regions, because it's my job as business development manager to help you learn about the polar regions and help you get passionate about these amazing destinations so that in turn you can get your clients passionate about visiting such unique parts of the world, such as the polar regions. That's enough about me. You're here to learn about Quark Expeditions, so I would love to play you a brief introductory video, if I may. Oh, I love that video. Right, so moving on. Hopefully that video shows you, a little bit about what it means to take a polar expedition with Quark Expeditions. But, to kick off, I really want to explain what an expedition means. That's what we're all here for, is, to learn about that and help explain that to our clients. Because I think the word expedition can bring up some quite, scary connotations to a lot of people. They think, oh, you've got to be super fit, super active, going to be trekking in the snow, trekking in the ice. That's not what it's all about. For us, an expedition is all about the expeditionary spirit of mind. It's about going with the flow, letting nature be the tour guide, and know that the experts looking after you on your voyage are going to show you a unique, once-in-a-lifetime experience in these beautiful destinations. So it's up to us to change the mindset of clients and make them aware that, you don't have to be very fit, you don't have to be very active to take a polar expedition. You just have to have the right spirit of mind to let nature be the tour guide and be open to incredible opportunities of exploration. Now, that said, Quark Expeditions, we are the leaders in polar expedition cruising. That's all we do, and that's all we've ever done for the last 32 years. So we're incredibly specialized, incredibly experienced, and I always like to say uncompromisingly polar. So where do we go? When we talk about polar, of course, back to basics, what actually are the polar regions? Well, that is the Arctic and the Antarctic. Now, the Antarctic is, of course, its own continent. It's defined as land surrounded by ocean, whereas the Arctic actually is defined as ocean surrounded by land. The region of the Arctic comprises 3 separate continents and multiple different destinations to explore. Now, these are both summer destinations. So bear that in mind. We operate both the Arctic and Antarctic with our ships at the opposite times of the year. So the Antarctic season is the Southern Hemisphere summer, November through till March, and the Arctic season is the Northern Hemisphere summer. So that's around May till October time. So as I said, our ships do both. A typical day on board a Quark expedition kind of looks like this, but I say kind of because look to the little box in the bottom left. Nature is the tour guide. Now, I think that this is really exciting when it comes to taking a polar expedition because every single departure that we operate is like a fingerprint. No two are ever going to be repeated in the same way. And that's because the experiences our guests are having from one day to the next, from 1 hour to the next, are completely unique and special to them. That said, this is what the structure of a day on a Quark expedition voyage looks like. We are aiming to get all of our guests off the ship at least twice per day for the maximum duration of every excursion as per the weather and the wildlife conditions. Remember, nature's the tour guide, so the weather and the wildlife dictate what is and isn't possible. But it's key to know that with a Quark expedition voyage, all of our guests are off the ship at the same time for the maximum duration that we are able to provide under those given set of weather conditions. So nobody's waiting on board for their turn to get off the ship. We don't rotate our guests. Everybody's off at the same time. And as I said, typically twice per day. That could be landing or a Zodiac cruise. I'll come more to our activities in a moment. Meals, of course, on board, scattered around that, and our educational program fits in around the off-ship program. But the time off the ship, exploring the destination, is always the focus and the priority. Antarctica, just to show you where we go. We access Antarctica like most expedition operators from Argentina, exploring the Antarctic Peninsula. This is just an image to show the different itineraries that we run, as there are multiple different ways of seeing Antarctica and indeed the sub-Antarctic islands of the Falklands and South Georgia. Now, the Antarctic Peninsula, obviously the major draw card, the seventh continent, the bucket list destination, and that voyage alone will be, the most exciting, most memorable voyage of your client's lifetime. However, if they can, before I come to that, I forgot to mention flying to Antarctica. We do have fly cruises. So if guests don't want to cruise the Drake Passage, the dreaded Drake, there is the option with Quark expeditions of flying directly to Antarctica on charter flights. So just keep that in mind. That's an option for guests who are really worried about seasickness or who are short on time and need a shorter voyage. As I started to say before, if clients have the time and the budget, adding South Georgia to their voyage will completely enrich the overall experience. Most people who go to Antarctica and South Georgia do in fact say that South Georgia is the highlight, that it completely steals the show, and that's largely due to the enormous population of king penguins. As you can see here in this photo, all of those dots in the background are king penguins, and you might have seen in the video, this particular spot is home to 250,000 king penguins, which is the second largest species of penguin on Earth. So very impressive. But then there's also the Falkland Islands, which gives a completely different perspective to the sub-Antarctic region, very different landscape. And of course, people live there. So, you also get the cultural element and the recent human history element too. Just to say, we also do an expedition cruise in Patagonia. The Antarctic season coincides with the Patagonia trekking season. Not everyone wants to trek. Seeing Patagonia on an expedition ship, getting off on Zodiacs, going, on wet landings where you can't otherwise access, just gives a very different perspective to seeing this incredible region. Best time to go in terms of seasonality? Well, it really depends what your clients are looking for. And we have some fantastic resources to explain what the differences between early season, mid-season, and end of season are likely to offer your clients. Moving on up to the Arctic. This is what a map of our Arctic itineraries look like. Now we have Svalbard or Spitsbergen, which is the realm of the polar bear, the best place on Earth to see polar bears in their natural habitat on the sea ice, home to over 3,000 polar bears. So a really, really exciting wildlife destination. But what is becoming more and more popular, and we talked about this in the panel session this morning, is Greenland. Greenland offers some of the most spectacular polar landscapes, as well as rich cultural Inuit history to explore, and of course the history of the Vikings too. And then we also operate in the high Canadian Arctic. Again, fantastic Inuit culture to delve into, incredible history of the explorers, and wonderful wildlife viewing opportunities, including narwhal. The Canadian Arctic is the best place on Earth for seeing the elusive unicorns of the sea. Best time to go to the Arctic? Well, again, it depends on what they're looking for and also what destination they're hoping to go to. Again, we've got fantastic resources to share with you. If I could move on now from destinations to talking about Quark expeditions and why you might choose Quark for your clients. First of all, we only do polar. That is our biggest USP because there is nobody as specialized or experienced at the polar regions as we are. And these are challenging parts of the world to operate in, both from a weather standpoint, it's got the wildest, most changeable weather on the planet, and also from a permitting and regulation standpoint behind the scenes. Experience is everything in the polar regions. A little bit on that is our expedition history. And in our brochures, actually, our digital brochures, we've got a double spread page and all of the amazing firsts we've accomplished in our 32 years. But these are just some of the highlights for you. So how we got our start as a company was we took the first group of commercial travelers to the North Pole back in 1991. And I also talked in the panel earlier about our most recent first is introducing Tundra to Table, which is the world's first and currently only Inuit culinary experience, a program we developed in partnership with the Inuit communities of southern Greenland. So that's something we're also really excited about, but many more firsts in our polar history to come. Now, with our experience and our amazing fleet, we do take clients deeper into the polar regions, constantly pushing the boundaries of polar exploration and trying to show our guests different parts of these amazing areas. And with that, of course, we are always conscious of our sustainability efforts. And something we're really proud of is that we do have the most comprehensive sustainability strategy in the polar regions. We have an immense, very detailed and thorough report that is consumer facing. So I'm happy to share that with you for you to then in turn share that with clients. Now, having the experience in the polar regions and being polar specialists, we have the most experienced expedition team looking after our guests. And we also have the best ratio in the industry. So industry average is 1 guide for every 10 guests. Ours is 1 guide for every 6 guests. So that just means your clients have a much more personalized and intimate experience with the experts, both on board and off ship. And we specialize in getting our guests off the ship more than any other. So as I said, all of our guests will be off the ship at least twice per day, every day, weather permitting, of course, but all guests are off for the maximum duration of that possible excursion. So guests are never waiting on board for their turn. And the reason we can do that is because of our diverse portfolio of off-ship program. So in Antarctica, for example, something that maybe you're not aware of is you can actually only have 100 people on land at any one time. So the way that we manage that is with our diverse portfolio of adventure options, both included and the paid ones. So here you have a selection of some of the included options, the included excursions we offer. Even if guests don't want to add on any of the more adventurous stuff, they will still have a very comprehensive, holistic, and exciting experience in the polar regions just with their included excursions. But then we've got a number of different, slightly more adventurous, more active experiences guests can add on to their voyage if they want to. Things like kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, various helicopter-based experiences, camping both in Antarctica, and we also offer camping with an Inuit community in Greenland as well. So some really, really exciting add-ons for them. Now, talking about our fleet, we have what I like to say a one-stop shop of fleet. We have 3 ships in our fleet, roughly the equivalent of a 3-star, a 4-star, and a 5-star vessel. So something for every type of polar client, really. And you'll see here that they are all under 200 guests in passenger size. This is key in the polar regions, in particular in Antarctica, because once you go above 200 guests, actually under IATA regulations, those ships are only allowed access to a limited number of landing sites. Whereas once you're under 200, we can access all of Antarctica's landing sites. So again, showing our guests more, taking them deeper, and giving them a more all-encompassing experience. Now, starting with the equivalent of a 3-star vessel, the Ocean Adventure is a classic expedition ship. She's the smallest in our fleet at 128 guests. And you'll see from these photos, she's a little bit oldie-weldy, definitely classic. Many people, specifically choose this type of vessel because she's a little bit more reminiscent of what it might have been like for Shackleton and Scott and the great explorers. Your sort of, teak and brass interiors, as I say, very oldie-weldy and charming. Then we've got the World Explorer, which I was very fortunate enough to sail on in Antarctica this past February on a hosted fam I led. The World Explorer takes 172 guests, and she's an all-suites, all-private balcony vessel. So every guest will have their own private balcony. Beautiful interior spaces, very modern. We've got jacuzzis on board. Beautiful ship. But the Ultramarine is our polar game changer. This is the ship that we introduced into our fleet in 2021. The star feature of the Ultramarine are the 2 twin-engine helicopters, which allow all guests to enjoy an included flight seeing excursion to experience the majestic polar regions from above. We also have, some less sexy features, but really important features, like 4 Zodiac embarkation points, including a water level hangar, which means for older clients, this ship allows embarkation into the Zodiacs more easily than other ships out there. And in terms of ice class, she's a 1A+, so the highest level that there is for exploring the polar regions below icebreaker status. Just to show you some internal shots, and I'll try to wrap up here and go through them quickly because I am aware of the time. This is a mid-range cabin, so you can see how beautiful and spacious she is for one of our standard cabin categories. Beautiful dining, exceptional food on board, gorgeous spa room, sauna, fitness center. We also have a wellness center and yoga studio. Wraparound deck for wildlife viewing. This is really key because oftentimes the ship is the best viewing platform for wildlife experiences, especially polar bears in the Arctic or maybe pods of whales in Antarctica. And of course, we've got enough Zodiacs for all of our guests to be off the ship at the same time. As I said, nobody waits on board for their turn. All guests enjoy time off the ship at the same time. And the helicopters, as I mentioned, all guests enjoy an included flight seeing excursion as part of their voyage cost. There are additional helicopter excursions guests can add on to their voyage if they wish to, but everybody gets to see majestic landscapes from above. Now, what's included with Quark Expeditions? Here we have a fantastic list. I don't need to read through them all, but something to remember is that Quark is all-inclusive when it comes to the off-ship excursion program, really putting the focus on the destination itself. We do also include these beautiful yellow jackets for guests to take home as a souvenir of their trip, and we include the use of the mock boots on loan during the voyage. There's also a photographic journal guests get after the voyage to document the expedition. So some really fantastic inclusions there. Just to wrap up, we have just launched our brand new Quark Expeditions partner portal. So if you're not signed up yet, please do. Fantastic resources in there. And we also have Parker the Polar Bear, our virtual polar assistant, to help you find anything you can't necessarily find yourself. We've got marketing materials, all of these images and videos you can download and access. We've got social media tiles. We've got information of advisor incentives, agent rates, and of course our Polar Pro training program as well. Just to finish up, if you want to find out more, please do reach out to me. I'm your primary point of contact here at Quark Expeditions. But we've also got an amazing team of polar travel advisors. They are global, so are available 24 hours a day to help you out. And we have our fantastic client experience team looking after you as well for everything post-sale. So on that, I would love to wrap up, say thank you so much for your time, and I'll just check quickly in anybody had any questions. Miss the link for partners. Yeah, absolutely. I'll get the link to our partner portal sent out to you. Can we be sent these videos, please, Angela? Absolutely. I'll get you set up with access to our partner portal where you can download all of the video and image content and social media tiles as well. And I think that was it for questions. Thank you so much, everyone. Hope you enjoy the last couple of sessions, and thank you for joining us today.